What's up, guys? I am beat up and tired after first four events. Day one is over. Back in the hotel room, just shoved as much food in my body as I possibly could. We're gonna do a real quick recap today of day one, just event by event. I just can't reiterate enough how awesome this experience has been so far. The crowd's amazing. Carrie and Brian just went above and beyond, um, and I'm just feeling real blessed to be here and to be a part of this. Ended the first day in eighth, so sitting top eight in the world after four events. Got four more to go. So we'll start off with the max deadlift. Uh, Honestly, really proud of the progress on deadlift. Not very proud of the amount of points that it resulted in. Warm-ups went awesome. In the back, I think my last pull was 800 pounds, and it was a speed rep. And for me, I usually slow down above like 750 or so. So I was like really pleased with that. Weird random thing that happened, and I think it's just because of the elevation. When I pulled that 800, um, my nose started bleeding. I have never bled from lifting or deadlifting or anything like that before. It's not common for me. I've never done it. So I'm gushing blood out my nose, and the lights go down, and they start handing everybody their flags. And I'm in the bathroom trying to shove gauze up my nose. And props to the medical team. They got it mostly stopped and clogged up with some gauze and shoved far enough in my nose that you couldn't tell I had gauze in my nose for the announcement ceremony. So I got to go out, wave the flag, see the crowd. It was cool. First pull went 856, which technically is only 4 pounds under the most I've ever done, and smoked it. Went up for attempt two, went 886, which there was quite a few guys that had done 881, so that was just why we picked that attempt. Um, and the bar speed was awesome. I barely had to ramp. Um, when I finished that pull, I'm like, I have 20, 30, 40, 50 more pounds in me. Got really excited, and then I turned to Ed Cohen, the side judge, and after getting a down command, he says, no, I did not get the rep. So I don't like the rule, but I understand the rule. So, but by the letter of the rule, I did not get that 886. So the rule that we all agreed on in the rules meeting was that the thumb had to stay in contact with the hand or with the index. That's to ensure that the thumbs stay or the straps stay strapped up tight. Um, Different hand anatomy. I have these thick fingers. So for me, that is choked up as tight as they possibly can be on the bar. But a guy like Singleton on his second pull had his hands a bit open, but his fingers were long enough that he could still cover. By the letter of the rules, he got a good rep on his second attempt. Um, I've heard some criticism of the show that, oh, they got bad judging. I think it's just people that didn't know about that rule and didn't quite understand it. And there was some confusion in the crowd. But by the letter of the rule, I do agree with basically every deadlift call that I saw. So I go back into the back room, a little bit of panic because I have to hit my third. If I would have gotten the second, I may have been a little more conservative or, not panicky as much about taking a big attempt. We went with 931, which was a huge jump, 45-pound jump from attempt two. And I knew that it was going to be tough. If I could get to the knee, I was sure I could lock it out. And I get out there. I go to pull. Clears the knees really easy. I go to start to ramp. I got it about as close as you can get without locking it out. I've seen it from different angles. From different angles, it looks good. Certain angles, it definitely didn't look good. So I completely understand why they didn't give me the down command. Call it a training make. So unfortunately, with that event, I ended up getting basically, I think I was like 9th or 10th, when if I would have got that 931, I would have done very well. Even that 886 would have been a couple more points. So just unfortunate set of circumstances, but big deadlift PRs, big deadlift progress regardless. Hamstring was a little pissed off after that, but we just roll right into the press medley. The turnover between the deadlift and the press medley was really fast, or at least it felt fast. And then there was a snafu out on the floor, and then we ended up with a bunch of extra time. So it was a kind of a hurry up, wait situation in the back. My bicep was giving me some trouble. It's just been tight the last few weeks, a little crampy. In my axle warm-ups in the back, it was a little crampy, but nothing too bad. I had a great last warm-up on log at 385, last warm-up on axle at 375. Felt pretty good, pretty confident. But as I was moving around in the back and doing some lifting, I kind of started to get the sense that maybe I might have not had the work capacity for that 5 implement medley. And the body was just a little crampy, little beat up, because I think I took deadlift to an 11 out of 10. And anyone who's ever done that, you understand that you don't get out of that unscathed usually. So there was a mix up on the floor where the 400 axle and the 375 axle got mixed up, and Brian took responsibility. The athletes got to meet, discuss, and vote on what we thought the best course of action was to move forward. And I felt like it was handled as good as it could be. Mistakes happen. This show did a lot of custom builds, a lot of cool equipment. And they took a lot of risks because they're just trying to do things big. And sometimes that make some bad things happen. I don't think any athletes got majorly screwed in the end. The athletes that went with the wrong axle first got the choice to go again, and most of them did better on their second round. I got out there feeling pretty good, but lungs not 100%, hamstrings were a little crampy. Hit the first log pretty easy. Hit the first axle, it was a little heavy. To be completely transparent, I've never done a fixed axle before today, so it was kind of figured out on the floor. First axle went great. Second log, I started to get the sense that, like, okay, body's pretty beat up. Body's pretty beat up from that deadlift. I hit it, and then I go to that the second axle, fourth implement, 400 pounds, and I just barely missed the bar flip on the clean. And during that rep, when I bent down to pick the axle off the floor, the hamstring cramped a little, and then I waited till the end of the time period and attempted another time. And as I bent over, it cramped real bad. So a lot of people our friends in the crowd thought I was like actually hurt. No, it just was unfortunate cramping. But at the end of the day, I think work capacity was really the thing I was lacking. And a show like this is going to expose where you're lacking. And I think if I came into this set of events again next year, I need to be in a little bit better shape. And we got an opportunity tomorrow to push and test it a little bit more. Event 3, the keg toss. So after zeroing the throw in the UK, I was just trying to get on the board with this event. I knew it would be damage control. Best case scenario, I was going to be just a couple guys. Really cool setup out on the floor. Rising bar. The first 3 attempts was 18 feet, 20 feet, 22 feet. I was very, very nervous out on the floor. I knew I could throw 18 because my upright at the gym was 18 and I was clearing it by a mile. But it just was one of those things where I had to get over that mental hurdle. Got out on the floor with all the guys. I cleared the 18 feet. Was probably way more excited about it than anybody else was to clear 18. Went up to 20, cleared 20, both those on the first shot. And then when we got up to 22, I just had some trajectory issues. But a couple guys randomly had trajectory issues. So I ended up beating a couple of guys. So not bad. Got a couple points. I knew that was my best case scenario. Unfortunately, I think if I just got a hold of one, I think I had 22 feet of height in me, and that would have been just a couple more points. So kind of the tail of the day, left a couple points on the board on the deadlift, left a couple points on the board on the axle if I would have hit that fourth, left a couple points on the board on the kegs. So I had to go out early on the stones, and that went way better than expected, even though the result, if you told me before this weekend, I got 1 rep at 500, I would think that's probably a pretty bad result because I hit 500 in training real easy and was very hopeful to hit 550. But come to find out, 4 events in, everyone's hurting, and these stones are brand new, so they're very slick. Went out to pre-tack the 500 and the 550. We made the decision to go for 500 first, and then if it really flew, go up to 550. If it, just a challenging rep, we'll go for reps at 500. I went out third, so I really just had to go early. I had no data to go off of. I get out there, I loaded the 500. Pretty good. Hamstring was just giving me hell on the way up on the load, but everything held. Everything was good. I went for a second rep, but the stone was just too slick, and I just couldn't find that perfect spot of tacky to get it loaded. I came off feeling okay, but I kind of had this sense that because the stones were so slick and I had such a good stone peak, and I was only able to get one at 500, that maybe the guys were about to have a bad time on stones, and one after another, the guys started to zero. Anyone who started with too big of a stone and went down, they ended up zeroing. So towards the end, a couple of the later guys like Hooper, even Thor, I believe Thor, they would go for a very light stone and then go up to something heavier just to get an insurance policy to beat all the guys that zeroed, and then they would go up to either the 500 or 550. I ended up getting 5th or 6th in that event, and that plus equate that in with all the zeros made me end the day in 8th, just behind Tom Stoltman, and I think Tom Evans just ahead of him. And the lead, there's a lead pack of a few that are just a couple points ahead of that, and I think Hooper and Thor are kind of pulling away. But yeah, you can get more accurate scores and depictions of all this stuff. This kind of recap is cool, and I appreciate you guys supporting the channel. But I really want to emphasize the importance of go over, subscribe to the pay-per-view for the show. That pay-per-view pays for a lot of the cost for the show, for the prize money for the athletes. I've already seen people posting basically the whole damn show on YouTube. So if you're doing that, stop doing that. There's a lot of people behind the scenes putting basically their whole livelihood into the show, and the athletes get paid because of the things like the pay-per-view. So please don't poach your way around the pay-per-view. This kind of content is just supplementary to the pay-per-view. Please go do that. But I can't thank everybody enough for the support, and I am excited for day 2. So thanks, guys.